Hello there and welcome back to Midlife Rises. I'm Cheryl. Ah, the summer is finished. I decided to come into the Fort Greene Park today because it is just so gorgeous. Unbelievable. But yeah, summer is going bye-bye. This week on, I had a client that totally broke my heart. And I want to talk about this because I think when heartbreak happens, when we get hurt, when we really get hurt and it breaks our heart, it's because it was not expected. We deal with disappointments, but when something happens unexpectedly, it breaks your heart. And I want to talk about that because it's not the first time, and I am quite sure it won't be the last. But the way I deal with it, I want to share that today. Because that's what I do. I have a very childlike way about me. I look naive to a lot of people. I don't appear as the experienced woman that I am. And I think the reason for that is because I don't bring on my past experiences onto the present. I learn from them. I'm not kidding. I really do. I go through the moment. I do whatever crying I have to do, and then I move on. The way I deal with life is very, very simple. I've been through a lot, and this is why I have this disposition. I think that when we hold bitterness in our heart, anger, bitterness, vindictiveness, it only hurts us. And these things can be poisonous to our system, which is what I believe happens to a lot of us because we don't cope with the things that we go through the right way. And one of the reasons why I talk about spending time with yourself is to go through these moments. Because if we are busy just going on with life and not addressing things, it stays in the back end and it causes a lot of problems. So I'm not going to go into details on exactly what happened. But I've known this client for a little while, and what he did was not only abusive, it was humiliating. And I'm getting past it, but I want to talk about it because we do get hurt. We get hurt by our friends, family members, adult children, our bosses, our co-workers. It's going to happen. But it depends on the level of hurt and the way in which it takes place. But I think when it happens where you're not looking for the particular individual to do whatever, that's when it hits home. That's when it breaks hearts. One of the things that I will suggest you do is to not bring your past experiences to the next one. Because everybody deserves a fair chance. When you bring your past hurt to your new relationship in any situation, it's not really fair to that person. And with me, I have a very childlike way. I had a friend I used to work with. He told me, God takes care of babies and fools. And he used to always end it with, you're too old to be anybody's baby. So in other words, I'm a fool. That was years ago and I used to laugh at it, but I understand what he's saying because I do have a childlike way. That's just the way I'm wired. It's not something that I'm, pretending to do. That is the way I am. And I take everyone at face value. And this particular client, I was going by a voice. I never met the individual. But I want to go through the different things that happen to us, and I want to stress to you that when someone goes out of their way to hurt you, and sometimes it's not out of their way, that's just the way the person is. We all are supposed to use good judgment. We're all supposed to work with integrity and humility, but that's not the way it works. That's not the way it is, unfortunately. I don't know what kind of human being you are. I can speak for myself. I can't vouch for anyone else. But the way I deal with everyone, I try to be fair. And I take everyone at face value. They actually have to prove to me that they're not trustworthy And sometimes it takes a while depending on how skillful the person is with manipulation. That I'm not going to lose sleep on, because when people go out of their way to undermine me, deceive me, and hurt me, I do whatever I have to do to flush it out, and then I surrender it. This is where the faith and the whole respecting that there is someone watching comes in. If you notice, that's something that I always talk about. I'm not a full churchgoer. I'm a believer, and I would say I'm a Christian, but I'm more spiritual than anything. A lot of people will say, well, you know, people who go to church, they're the most horrible people and so on. That's them. You have to account for yourself. You have to know what you're about. And when you start talking, living by principles and having humility, integrity, and so on, that stuff takes work. That stuff takes work in the sense where you have to have put in that time to start deducing what's wrong from right, doing the self-talk and taking accountability for the wrong that you do. A lot of people in power and have things handed to them, they don't feel that they have to be respectful to another person. They will be more superficial in the sense where, well, you know, this person is a doctor, so I will treat him better than I would the other person. Let me tell you, folks, that stuff is so very, very dangerous, because you do not know a lot of times who you are dealing with. It could be someone living on the streets, but you don't know really what that person is about and what kind of protection they have. So you have to be super careful on the way in which you treat another person. I have been through so much, but you're not gonna fully see it on my face because I don't bring the past into the future. I learn from it in the sense where I'm building my wisdom, but I do not take what I've been through out on another person. I am fully opened like a sponge, and that is how I go about it. When you go about life that way, vindictiveness, bitterness, anger, these things, it's not going to be part of your life. You're going to have that light. You're going to have that fruit of the Spirit, because I always say God is love. I mean, if you're not able to feel for another person, if you are shut down in your heart space, that's not good. That is not good. Let me tell you how I believe the enemy gets to attach itself to us. And when I say the enemy, I don't want to beat around the bush. I'm talking like Satan. What we know as the devil, that is who I'm referring to when I say the enemy. He gets to control us through money. He gets to control us through jealousy. That is how Satan, the devil, that is how he gets to attach himself to individuals. You know, a lot of times when you are looking at someone doing wrong, you know, really going at it, it's not that individual. They have something that is controlling them because they were receptive to being controlled like that. You say, you know, money is the roots of all evil, and no, it's not. It's people and what they choose to do to get money. I have a lot that I do. I am blessed in the sense where I have a lot of skills. I started out, as I mentioned several times, in the corporate world. I worked in the insurance industry, and then I moved over to law in the legal sector. And what I went through there, I've learned from it. And I switched my profession and I went into sales. I also have real estate background. I don't do much of it because I don't like the crabs in a barrel thing, and it's a very cutthroat business. But I will get involved if something falls on my lap. But I just like to keep things simple and make my money the simple way. And I thank God that I've never had to choose using someone for money. Since I've known myself, I have never had to go that route, and I don't think at this stage that I will need to. But back to what I'm talking about on dealing with a broken heart. You have to be willing to sit and think about what took place. You have to be willing to address with whomever it is. Sometimes, as my mom used to say, you don't tell people what they already know. But a lot of people are so controlled by whatever it is that takes them over that they have no insight to the way they behave and the things that they do. And sometimes you do need to come out and say, well, I'm upset because of A, B, and C. I don't like to beat around the bush. I like to come right out and say what I feel and then move on. I don't throw stones and hide my hand. No one will say, I can't believe it was you behind that, because I don't do the underhandedness, because there is someone always watching, and all of us are held accountable for the wrong that we do. Don't wish bad on anyone. Just pass it on, because there is someone watching, and he sees and hears everything. And when you're going about things innocently, as I do, a lot of times I'm still learning. I'm in my early 60s. And surprisingly, I pay attention to other things for my self-growth, but I don't think about deceit and underhandedness. I just don't, I'm not wired that way. I'm not a saint now. A lot of times I talk and I'm quite sure I'm trying to come across as a saint. No, I'm not. I get upset, I curse, and I like doing it. As a matter of fact, I have a very bad temper. I try not to get pulled out of my character, because when I do, it is not pretty. Remember I was talking about the bikes? Sometimes I feel ashamed at how I carry on when someone cuts me off, and I have to stop doing that, because I lost a friend in Miami a few years ago over that stuff. He was going back and forth with someone, and rather than let it go, he followed the person, and he came out his car with an instrument, and the person had a gun, and he shot him. He shot him, it hit his liver, and he died. Road rage and stuff is not a good thing, but I'm just pointing out that I'm not a saint. And I'm spiritual, and I'm a Christian and so on, but yeah, I get upset, I curse. And I do it very well. Like I said, I have a very bad temper, and that's why I try to choose my environment, because things can easily pull you out of your character, and I don't like behaving like that. So with that, I have a sprinkle of friends, and I live my life in a very simple way. At this stage in our lives, we want to have that peace. We want to have that fruit of the Spirit. And the way you can get it is by watching the way you live your life. And one of the most important things is to watch how you treat others. That stuff, I'm telling you. We get a few comments on abusive adult children. And that one is a little tricky, because you're talking your child or your children. But it's not to say that you would not do what you have to do to protect yourself. That's not what I'm saying. You have to do what you have to do. Our job was already done with our adult children. So allowing them to abuse you and to take advantage, to be manipulative, and all the other things that they do to hurt our feelings and break our hearts, we have to be strategic on the way we handle that. But family members, co-workers, friends, and in my case, what I just went through with a client, You have to find a way to work it out within yourself, communicate to the individual how you feel about what they did, and then move on. Surrender it to the divine, because He will take care of things. No one is untouchable where the universe is concerned. No one. Sometimes we think because we have more of an advantage, whether we're a boss or we have more than the other person, that we are deceiving. We feel as though it gives us the right and that we will not be held accountable. I'm here to tell you, that's not the way it works. The person pays. Everyone pays. Whether it's today or tomorrow, it happens. And you don't have to do anything. You don't have to wish anything on anyone. What it is with us, I think that when we have a little power, whether we are a boss or we have more than the other person, we tend to play God. But there is only one God. That might come as a surprise. In terms of a boss, that is why I think managers and the upper echelons really need to be careful on who they are promoting into positions to manage people, because you have to first know that that person will do the right thing. I have grandkids, and I will not give the oldest one, let's choose the older one, I will not give him a bag of M&Ms going to attack the entire bag. So what I would have to do is give him a couple of pieces from the M&Ms and hold the rest of it, because he's not going to be mature enough, experienced enough to know that he should not tackle that entire bag of M&Ms. And this principle, unfortunately, applies to what I'm talking about right now. So that concept on integrity, humility, morals, all of these things, if we are not dealing with someone with those qualities, we are going to be in a position where our hearts will get broken. And I'm going to speak for me, because I get hurt, but when my heart gets broken, it's because I was not expecting it from the individual. I have a very bad way in the sense where not only do I take people at face value, but I'm just assuming that they'll do the right thing when it's time, because that is what I do. And unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. So what I would say is to just surrender it, because no one gets away with hurting someone or throwing their weight around. No one gets away with hurting another person, whether it's in a relationship, friendship, job situation. No one gets away from doing wrong. This was a hard hit, but I'll get past it like I always do. And I like sharing these stories because things happen, but it all depends on what are you going to do after that. Like, you've got to be able to move on. The way this happened with me and this client, he's done it before. This is not the first time. The way it happened, he's done this before. You can't in your right mind think that you will be left to continuously do wrong and not be held accountable. I mean, there's no way. We all have to pay for the wrong that we do. But for the victim, I want to say to you, just surrender it. Just surrender it to the divine, because He sees all, He knows all, and He will take care of it. And not to say you're wishing bad on anyone, but we all have to pay for the wrong that we do. I'm not making this stuff up. That's just the way it works. I mean, there's no rock science to this thing. You treat someone the way you would want to be treated, and that's it. But I was saying that The enemy controls us by money, and he controls us by jealousy. Because the things that we do in order to get money, it changes the person. And I've seen this with my own two eyes, like I'm talking from experience. I have people that I would not go close to now. I'm afraid because it's not the same person. I'm looking at the person's behavior and I can tell it's not the same person. What is that? They're being controlled by something else. And that's because they have allowed themselves to get involved with doing wrong. Whether it's for money, clout, the person have gotten involved with things that will attract darkness. And if you've been watching this show, you know I do not mess around with that part of it. Because the enemy has a way of luring you into things. I know you've heard the devil is a liar. He leads these individuals down this path thinking that there's going to be light at the end of the tunnel. I was joking around the other day to my boss. I worked with an attorney that I was telling him, oh my God, at least I'm seeing light at the end of the tunnel. And he said, just make sure that light is not an upcoming train. That was hilarious. When he leads you down that path and it's far gone, he leaves you all by yourself to find your way. This is why things like praying and doing the right thing is very important. We are living in a time that we're battling with stuff. And it's things that we're not seeing. I'm a praying person, so I don't get too thrown by it. The rule that I follow is I treat others with respect from the upper echelon to the lowest, someone that is homeless. That's just the way I'm wired. I just like being a good person where I could control it. The cursing and stuff, I can't. I can't control that. When I get upset, this is how I react. But I try more or less to be conscious of doing the right thing always. You want to have the Prince of Peace share his peace with you, that's the way to go. When you start getting involved with envy and jealousy and being, conniving, throwing stones, hiding your hand, and laughing in someone's face and doing things behind their backs, you're not going to get away with that stuff. Everyone gets punished in different ways. That is why I'm saying don't wish anything on anyone, because the one who sees all and knows all, he knows what's important to each individual. God giveth and he takes away. You can actually get up one day and your whole life can change in a snap. As far as the ones that get hurt by whomever, do your praying and don't wish any bad on anyone. Just surrender it to the divine, because he will heal that hurt and he will go after that person. So don't worry your pretty little head about what the person did and how they're getting away. No one gets away. I'm telling you what I know. No one gets away. I don't hold on to anything because I see my blessings. Things don't always work out the way I want, but I see my blessings for walking on the right path. Before I moved into the apartment that I'm in now, I went into a share situation with a mature woman. She worked with the TV station. Very pleasant person. It was a very large 2-bedroom duplex. We met, we hit it off, and we decided, I was gonna go and be part of that share. She introduced me to a young lady that lived upstairs. The person lived alone. And I don't know what transpired, but I was under serious attack. She had cats, and she would get this, it seemed like it was some kind of rolling pin, because it was wood floor, so I'm assuming that it was some kind of rolling pin, but like she was putting these cats to play with this thing in the middle of the night. When I say middle of night, I'm talking like 3 and 4 in the morning. When it first happened, I reported it to my roommate, and she said she would talk to the woman, and then it calmed down and it continued to happen, and it just started escalating. She would put heels on and walk around, like you could tell it was deliberately being done, because where her doorway was, I never went upstairs, but I know it was not in the back where my bedroom was. She would put heels on and walk around and then leave. I started complaining. I could see where my roommate wasn't doing anything, so I went to the owner, because that's what I do. I'm very confrontational, like I'm not shy with stuff like that. I'll let you know. And I went to the owner and I let him know what was going on. He approached her and it doubled up. I mean, it was bad. At one point she got her friend, the friend brought her child, and it's almost like they directed him to come into the room and stomp. And it continued on, and finally I approached the individual. She had the upper hand because she was above me. She knew that I enjoyed watching TV in the night. She started coming to the back, putting her TV on and putting it on really loud, past like 1, 2 o'clock. I started like threatening to call the cops. I was introduced to this person when I moved in briefly, but we never had any confrontation where I upset her in any way where she would do that. And I believe my roommate was part of it, because she started like backing up the woman. And I gave notice. I think I stayed there, maybe 6 months. I don't have to be there to know that they are both, and all who was involved, they're paying for it. I didn't have to wish anything on anyone. I moved out and I stayed communicating with my roommate. And she alarmed me that she fell down the stairs, she broke her arm, then something happened where a dumpster slammed on her arm, and it was just, I think she moved out of town. I don't know what was happening to the main individual, but I can guarantee you she did not get away with what she was doing to me, because I didn't do anything. This was something stupid like her listening to me on the phone, watching me when I leave, because I always appear like I have no problems. I'm always laughing. I'm very happy. Maybe she was going through things in her life, and the way she dealt with it was to get me for what was going on with her. So I'm here to tell you, when people are doing wrong, do not worry about it. And it's not because of anything you did. It's this guy. That is why I always stress, watch the things that you do, because someone is watching. And if you don't take anything away from this piece that I'm doing right now, remember that. Mom used to say, do good things and good things will happen to you. I mean, things happen. That's life, just like the weather changes. There are ups and downs. You just have to know how to deal with it. When it starts getting cold, I will know to start layering up. That's how you do it. When these things happen, you make adjustments. Pray about it, surrender it, and just move on. But don't hold things in your heart, because that stuff it takes a toll. And your peace gets taken away, and a lot of other things, funky things start happening. So just take it one day at a time and do the right thing when you can. Okay? Thanks for sitting with me. We come on every first and third Tuesday and Thursday of the month. I have to learn how to say that. That's the schedule for now. And if you miss the show that's aired on television, I usually put it on YouTube. So don't worry about that. You'll be able to go and catch it there. I hope all is going well for you and your family. And we'll see you next time. Okay? You take care now.